All right, and welcome to the second episode of Light the Fire Lessons in Leadership. We are doing this live out of the Huron Area Technical Center. We got Sam the Man on the board. We have a special guest with us today. Xavier, thank you for being on Light the Fire Leadership Lessons. Xavier, tell us our listeners a little bit about yourself and where you are from.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for letting me be on here. I go to Harbor Beach High School. I'm a senior this year, and I have a lot of things going on in my life. I go to the law enforcement program here at the Tech Center. I did the diving class through that. I got diving certified. I got firefighter certified. I'm enlisted in the National Guard. Went to basic training over the summer. Got a lot of things going on in my
Pretty
life.
amazing, and that's really why we wanted to have you on. How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
17 years old, and, you know, there's this bad feeling around when I talk to a lot of adults that the culture is getting lazier and less motivated, and I tell them, no, it's just different, right? So when I heard about what you did this summer, I thought, man, if I was 17, could I mentally do that? Like, that's such a big challenge. And knowing you the last 2 years, you've always been a great kid. You've always had leadership skills and a hard worker. How did that shape you? Like, where did you get those early skills from?
Well, I think it was just started from the way I was raised. Growing up, I didn't have a dad around. It was just my mom taking care of me, and she was always working hard because she had to provide for me. I'm an only child, but she had to provide for me by herself. So I just kind of learned from her, like saw her example, and definitely took that to heart. And I was raised by my grandpa kind of a lot because my mom was always working, so I was around him a lot, and he just always kind of taught me, like, the skills of life, working hard. You know, he worked all his life, so he just kind of taught me all those skills.
Well, I know your mom and grandpa are very proud of you, Xavier, and, you know, it's easy to want those skills, but to live those skills, you know, single family, that's a tougher road. Mm-hmm. Some people, you know, have both parents in the house and have trouble getting motivated or doing things. So even though it started out a little bit more challenging, those lessons that they taught you are already paying off for you.
Absolutely.
As a senior in high school. So from a student point of view, Xavier, how would you encourage kids to do their best? Like when you say they always taught me to work hard and do my best, what do you think that means? If you're talking to another student, maybe you see someone in Harbor Beach struggling, what would you tell them? What does it mean to do your best?
Well, I think you got to find what it is within you that motivates you. Like joining the National Guard with me, that was something that motivated me. And it got me to do the work. And when it comes to that, you know, I always put in the work. And even if school sometimes to me isn't the most fun thing to do, or I don't like get the most motivation for it, I have to graduate high school for the National Guard. I have to stay on track to graduate. So that motivates me to like get the schoolwork done and try hard. And I found it within myself to just want to always better myself. I just kind of found that drive within myself. So I think people got to kind of search within themselves. Like sometimes take a step back from just like the pointless, you know, sitting around all day or looking at the phones all the time, and just kind of take some time to look at yourself and look at the things around you and what really like motivates you and what you can find that helps you out in life.
I think that's great. Your why. For you to get to your why, you got to go through some things.
Absolutely.
You know, instead of making excuses, you got to get it done. You got to find a way. Well, you mentioned the National Guard, and this is really, you know, when Mr. Swartz, and we'll talk about him in a little bit later, but when Mr. Swartz told me you were doing that, I thought, oh my goodness, how many 17-year-olds could go join the Guard and spend the summer training going through boot camp? Tell us about that experience and how that came about.
Well, I always kind of thought the military was a path for me. And for a while, I thought about going to like a full-time active duty branch. Like I think for a while it was the Navy, and just doing that right out of high school. But then I learned about how like is only with the National Guard and the Army Reserves, you can do a split option program where you're 17, you enlist, you go to basic training over the summer in between your junior and senior year, and you finish out your senior year. And I thought that sounded great. You can jumpstart it right now, and I wanted to do that because I get the benefits, salary, experience. It's a lot of fun too. So
what did that feel like? How was the thought process when you met with the Guard and you said, hey, I think I'm going to enlist, and they say, okay, they had some requirements that you could not meet probably. Absolutely. When they told you. So tell us a little bit about where you were at when you made that goal and then what happened.
I was a lot heavier than I am now, so I was about 30 pounds over the weight limit for the National Guard, and so I had to meet the standards to get in. And the recruiter, he told me, he was like, "You're gonna have to like put in the work to drop this." And he's told me this quite a few times, that he deals with recruiting people all the time that aren't ready to meet the standards, and he's like, he kind of figured that I would just be another one of those people that wouldn't put in the work, or I would take forever. And this was what I wanted to do. I knew that this was like my drive, my motivation. This is what I found. I was like, I'm getting to this point to where I can enlist. And within a month or two, I was running every day, watching what I ate. I was putting in the work, and I dropped about 20 pounds. And then over going to basic training, I dropped another probably 20. So like in total, I've lost 40 to 50 pounds. And I knew this was what I wanted to do. And in order to get there, I had to be uncomfortable and put in some work.
So you talked about, losing 20 to 40 pounds in that shorter time. Your why was bigger than where you're at. What are some things that went through your mind, and talk from a high school standpoint as far as negative self-talk, or, kids are going through a lot of things with mental health and things right now. What was your self-talk like during that time? I'm sure there were some negative voices in your mind when it first started.
Sometimes it was negative. For a little while, I was, just really unhappy with like how I was, because I didn't feel that healthy. And, like over the years, especially starting in high school, I got more into fitness and like working on my body so I could get into better shape. But like this was something that definitely, joining the National Guard, pushed me further and just kind of jump-started that. And but I gotta say, for people that are like looking at themselves negatively, it's not the way to do it. If someone's looking at themselves negatively, it's better to find a drive to improve yourself rather than to just, because I noticed myself, if I ever thought negatively, then I would just sit around and, sit in like my negativity and just mope around. And
nothing came out of it.
Yeah,
No change
came out of it. I feel sorry
for
for myself, but, there was no change there. So I had to find like a drive to, well, if this is something I'm not happy about in my life, then I should work to make it better.
Yeah, and really what that's called is accountability.
Yes.
So you can, other people can invest and do that. You said your mom and grandpa showed you, but you had to look in the mirror and say, okay, Xavier, the time's now.
Absolutely.
You want this, go get it. So let's talk a little bit about your experience here at Tech Center, and how does that help prepare you for the future?
Well, one thing is I got so many certifications and skills that
Preach. This is one of my favorite parts. Preach. Tell them what have you gotten from the Tech Center?
I got scuba certified, and that lasts for life. For perfectly free, paid for by the Tech Center. I went to some classes, and now I can scuba dive in open water 60 feet anywhere in the world. That certification will last me my whole life, and it was fun. I got firefighter certified. I can go out now into the fire department and apply and get a job and start working, because I have that certification already. And I'm a high school student. Some people that are like adults are trying to get into these classes, and I already have these done.
Amazing. How about the law enforcement program with Mr. Swartz? What has that done for you?
I think it's a great program. That was my dream, is law enforcement, and it helped also with the National Guard, because it just kind of, Mr. Swartz is a very motivated person, and, he's always like pushing his students. So it was kind of great, because it kind of already got me with the start to have accountability of myself and take charge and take action. He's very big on like accountability and, taking responsibility and stuff like that. So I think it's great. He's a great teacher, and the program's really good and helpful for anyone who's going into that career path. And honestly, I've noticed a lot of kids in there that don't know what they're doing, and it's still a great class because it just kind of goes over a lot of different stuff. And sometimes, like when you're talking about public safety and stuff like that, it can be not just for people going to law enforcement.
It's a lot of ways you can go.
Yeah, it's important skills in everywhere.
And for you, it's almost like everything for the last 2 years have aligned, and you sharpened your saw to push you and go in the right direction. Scuba's going to help you when you go into it's going to help you in the armed forces for sure. Your firefighter's it's going to help you. You have those certs. So this is a question I always like to ask, especially a senior in high school. If you could go back 10 years, maybe as a freshman, because that's really when you started to kind of see things different.
Yeah.
If you could go back and write yourself a note, what would you tell yourself then that you didn't know?
Well, I would like start off telling myself to keep pushing myself and to like to tell myself that I'll do great, but like don't be afraid to take the risks. And I think that was something that it took me a while to learn, because when I came in as a freshman, I was just coming from a one of the one-room schoolhouses.
You're a rural school, right?
Yeah, and so it was a whole new experience. And I was coming in, you know, I was nervous, I was really shy, which makes sense, but I just think that if I would have started taking risks earlier, that I could have been in an even better spot than I am now. But I gotta say that I would definitely tell myself to, you know, stay on track, because I can't say I'm not happy with where I am now. You know.
So speaking of where you're at now, you graduate in May, right? Mm-hmm. What are your future plans? What do you think the future looks like in 5 years for Xavier Booms, and then 10 years?
All right, well, in 5 years, well, be just towards the end of my contract. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to stick with the National Guard for a good chunk of my life, kind of see what it's like, because I still have to finish training, so see what it's like when I get to my unit, decide if I'm going to keep doing that. But then in the civilian career field, it's still kind of undecided for me. I was planning on going to law enforcement, but recently I just got another challenge I learned. I learned when I enlisted in the military that I was colorblind.
Oh.
And it's you have to go through some certain testing to get into law enforcement and be colorblind. And it looks like that might not be an option for me. So that's kind of a challenge of looking at a different career path now and seeing, you know, what the future might hold for me. So I know I definitely plan on going to college. I'm probably going to start off with Delta and looking at different career fields for me and just trying out different things and using what I already have with me to help me out in the future.
Well, if I know anything about you, a hurdle is not an obstacle, it's just another thing to go over.
Absolutely.
So if colorblind is something, you will adjust, you will be successful. Xavier, I want to thank you for having you on our show. You're a wonderful young man. And, you know, like I said, I talk to a lot of adults that the culture has changed. Things are different. Students are different. But I tell people all the time, we have fantastic students at the Huron Area Technical Center. Xavier is one of them. Xavier is one that not only inspires his peers and his classmates, he inspires adults. He knows at a young age, he's 17, and he already knows what adversity looks like, how to meet challenges, how to be positive through it, and how to be impactful. So these are the kind of kids that we get to work with in Huron County. We have amazing kids that are going to do amazing things. My challenge to you, Xavier, come back and visit us in 5 years. Get your picture up of you in your dress clothes, because I'm sure you're going to be doing something great in the military. And then in 10 years, whatever you pursue, the lessons you've already learned and applied are going to make you successful. So I want to thank you for being on the show. You've been a fantastic guest to be on the show, and keep doing what you're doing. And if you're a student that's challenged right now, or you feel down, or you feel like you can't meet your goals, listen to this podcast again. There's a lot of nuggets in this from Xavier. He was there. We were all there. And this is how he overcome them. And now he's a super successful kid at the age of 17. He's happier. He walks the halls with a different strut, and I don't mean like a cocky strut, just your chin's high. You're proud of yourself, and we're proud of you. So I think the advice you gave should be something every high school kid listens to, because it's pretty powerful stuff, Xavier. Your mom and grandpa are very proud of you. We're very proud of you. Thank you for being on Light the Fire, Lessons in Leadership.
Thank you.